Magnetic storms are some of the most powerful forces in our solar system. And they've been nearly completely overlooked by science. These storms have damaged our planet before. In 1989, a solar flare hit North America, wiping out power to Quebec and the surrounding area. 6 million people were without power in the middle of a cold Canadian winter. Electricity was restored within a day, preventing a greater catastrophe. But the Quebec storm was a small one. A far greater storm was actually recorded in 1859. Northern lights were seen as far south as Cuba. Telegraph lines stretching across America hummed and sparked as a massive power surge shorted them out.
This may have been one of the largest geomagnetic storms that has ever occurred. Literally 10 times larger than what caused the problems in the North American grid in 1989.
New data from SDO and other observatories show that these massive solar storms are far more common than we once thought. What would happen if the same giant storm from 1859 hit our planet today? The disaster would begin with a sunspot erupting on the solar surface, firing billions of tons of material directly at Earth. In 8 minutes, gamma rays and X-rays wipe out most satellites. Our wired society is now blinded. No GPS, no plane navigation, no satellite or cable television.
We have hundreds and hundreds of satellites in orbit. And on average, each of those satellites cost $500 million. Well, there's hundreds of billions of dollars right there that's gone.
Within 8 to 16 hours, the great mass of ejected solar material hits Earth's magnetosphere, overwhelms it, and blasts across the face of the planet.
Infrastructure will start seeing large induced currents starting to flow through large power lines.
It's going to make power transformers explode all across the country.
When the transformers go, every piece of electrical equipment in America goes with it.
It's a critical infrastructure, probably the keystone infrastructure. If you take electric supply away, virtually all other infrastructures will fail either immediately or within just a few days.
Where does your drinking water come from? It needs electricity in a lot of cases to pump the water up, so you're not going to have drinking water. You're not going to have lights unless you have your own generator. And then when the generator runs out of fuel, well, if you run down to the gas station to get some more fuel for the generator, there's no electricity to run the pumps.
The electricity will not come back on because the transformers will be too damaged to repair. They will have to be completely replaced, and that is not a simple proposition. It takes at least 6 months to build a single transformer from scratch. That means no electricity, no water, no fuel, no banking for 6 months. For major cities. Smaller cities will take longer. To rebuild the entire grid might take over a decade. The cost of repair is staggering. The cost in human lives, disturbing.
There is no way that we could sustain a 300 million population in this country with large disruption of that scale.
Some estimates suggest that a large magnetic storm could lead to the death of 1/3 to 1/2 of the population of the developed world. That's 100 million deaths in the US, 250 million in Europe, 1 billion in Asia. Lives lost to the power of a magnetic storm.
Up until this time, this sort of disaster has truly been incomprehensible.
Can anything be done to prevent this type of destruction? Experts are trying to plan for that now. With better observation of the sun's explosive magnetic surface, as well as designing shields for cables and creating surge preventers for transformers.
We now have to think in ways of retrofitting design changes into those grids. We're still at early days of trying to figure out how to harden the infrastructures against these.
The apocalyptic power of a magnetic storm reveals just how essential magnetism is in our lives and in the very universe itself.